She Stoops to Conquer, or The Mistakes of a Knight, by Oliver Goldsmith. Act the first. A chamber in an old-fashioned house. Enter Mrs. Hardcastle and Mr. Hardcastle.
I vow, Mr. Hardcastle, you're very particular. Is there a creature in this whole country but ourselves that does not take a trip to town now and then to rub off the rust a little? Here we live in an old rumbling mansion that looks for all the world like an inn, but that we never see company. And all our entertainment, your old stories of Prince Eugene and the Duke of Marlborough. I hate such old-fashioned trumpery.
And I love it. I love everything that's old. Old friends, old times, old manners, old books, old wines. And I believe, Dorothy, you'll find I've been pretty fond of an old wife.
Oh, Mr. Hardcastle, you forever took Dorothy's and your old wife's. I'm not so old as you make me, by more than one good year. Add 20 to 20 and make money of that.
Well, let me see. 20 added to 20 makes just 50 and 7.
It's false, Mr. Hardcastle. I was but 20 when I was brought to bed of Tony that I had by Mr. Lumpkin, my first husband, and he's not come to years of discretion yet.
No one ever will, I dare answer for him. You've taught him finely.
No matter. Tony Lumpkin has good fortune. My son is not to live by his learning. I don't think a boy wants much learning to spend $1,500 a year.
Learning? Quoth a mere composition of tricks and mischief.
Humor, my dear, nothing but humor. Come, Mr. Hardcastle. You must allow the boy a little humor.
I'd sooner allow him a horse pot if burning the footman's shoes, frightening the maids, and worrying the kittens be humor. Oh, he has it.
And am I to blame? The poor boy was always too sickly to do any good, and school would be his death. Anybody that looks in his face may see he's consumptive.
Aye, if growing too fat be one of the symptoms.
He coughs sometimes.
Yes, when his liquor goes the wrong way.
I'm actually afraid of his lungs.
And truly so am I, for sometimes he whoops like a speaking trumpet. There he goes. A very consumptive figure, truly.
Enter Tony.
Tony, where are you going, my charmer? Won't you give Papa and I a little of your company, love?
I'm in haste, Mother. I cannot stay.
You shan't venture out this raw evening, my dear. You look most shockingly.
I can't stay, I tell you. The Three Pigeons expects me down every moment. There's some good fun going forward.
Oh, the alehouse, the old place. I thought so.
Pray, my dear, disappoint them for one night at least.
As for disappointing them, I should not so much mind, but I can't abide to disappoint myself.
You shan't go.
I shan't, I will, I tell you.
I say you shan't.
We'll see which one's the strongest.
Boy, there goes a pair that only spoil each other. But is not the whole age in a combination to drive sense and discretion out of doors? Oh, there's my pretty darling Kate. The fashions of the time have almost infected her, too. Blessings on my pretty innocence, dressed out as usual, my Kate. Goodness, what a quantity of superfluous silk has thou got about thee, girl.
You know our agreement, sir. You allow me the morning to receive and pay visits and to dress in my own manner. And in the evening I put on my housewife's dress to please you.
Well, remember, I insist on the terms of our agreement. But by the by, I believe that I shall have occasion to try your obedience this very evening.
I protest, sir, I don't comprehend your meaning.
Then to be plain with you, Kate, I expect the young gentleman that I have chosen to be your husband from town this very day. I have his father's letters in which he informs me his son is set out and that he intends to follow himself shortly thereafter.
Indeed, I wish I had known something of this before. Leslie, how shall I behave? It's 1,000 to 1 I shan't like him. Our meeting will be so formal and so like a thing of business, I shall find no room for friendship or esteem.
Depend on it, child. I'll never control your choice, but Mr. Marlow, whom I have pitched upon, is the son of my old friend, Sir Charles Marlow, of whom you've heard me talk so often. The young gentleman is a bred a scholar, and I'm told he's a man of an excellent understanding.
Is he?
Very generous.
I believe I shall like him.
Young and brave.
I'm sure I shall like him.
And very handsome.
Say no more, Papa. He's mine, I'll have him.
To crown all, Kate, he's one of the most bashful and reserved young fellows in all the world.
Ugh. You have frozen me to death again. That word reserved has undone all the rest of his accomplishments. A reserved lover, it is said, always makes a suspicious husband.
On the contrary, modesty seldom resides in a breast that is not enriched with nobler virtues. It was the very feature in him that first struck me.
Oh, he must have more striking features to catch me, I promise you. However, if he be so young, so handsome, and so everything as you mentioned, I believe he'll do still. I think I'll have him.
Aye, Kate, but there's still an obstacle. It's more than an even wager he may not have you.
My dear Pa, why will you mortify one so? Well, if he refuses, instead of breaking my heart at his indifference, I'll only break my glass for its flattery and look out for some less difficult admirer.
Bravely resolved. In the meantime, I'll go prepare the servants for his reception. As we seldom see company, they'll want as much training as a company of recruits the first day's muster.
Blood, this news of Papa's puts me all in a flutter. Young, handsome, these he puts last, but I put them foremost. Sensible, good-natured, I like all that, but then reserved and sheepish, that's much against him. Yet can't he be cured of his timidity by being taught to be proud of his wife? Yes, and can't... But I vow I'm disposing of the husband before I have secured the lover.
Enter Constance Neville.
I'm glad you're come, Neville, my dear. Tell me, Constance, how do I look this evening? Is there anything whimsical about me? Is it one of my well-looking days, child, and my face today?
Perfectly, my dear. Yet, now I look again. Bless me, has your brother the cat been meddling, or has the last novel been too moving?
Oh, no, nothing of all this. I have been threatened. I can scarce get it out. I have been threatened with a lover.
And his name
Is Marlow.
Indeed.
The son of Sir Charles Marlow.
As I live, the most intimate friend of Mr. Hastings, my admirer. They never are asunder. I believe you must have seen him when we lived in town.
Oh, never.
He's a very singular character, I assure you. Among women of reputation and virtue, he is the modestest man alive. But his acquaintance give him a very different character among creatures of another stamp. You understand me?
An odd character, indeed. I shall never be able to manage him. What shall I do? Shall I think no more of him, but trust to occurrences for success? But how goes your own affair, my dear? Has my mother been courting you for Tony as usual?
I have just come from one of our agreeable tete-a-tetes. She has been saying 100 tender things and setting off her pretty monster as the very pink of perfection.
And her partiality is such that she actually piques him so. A fortune like yours is no small temptation. Besides, she has the sole management of it. I'm not surprised to see her unwilling to let it go out of the family.
A fortune like mine, which chiefly consists in jewels, is no such mighty temptation. But, at any rate, if my dear Hastings be but constant, I make no doubt to be too hard for her at last. However, I let her suppose that I am in love with her son, and she never once dreams of my affections are fixed upon another.
My good brother holds out stoutly. I can almost love him for hating you so.
It is a good-natured creature at the bottom, and I'm sure could wish to see me married to anybody but himself. But my aunt's bells rings for afternoons, walks round the improvements. Hansi, courage is necessary as our affairs are critical.
Would it were bedtime and all were well.
Scene D, an alehouse room. Bet Bouncer and Dick Muggins enter with Tony, singing an old Irish drinking song.
Oh, that squire has got spoken of.
I love to hear him sing.
Oh, he takes after his own father for that, to be sure. Old Squire Lumpkin was the finest gentleman I ever set my eyes on. For winding the straight horn or beating and thinking for her hair, or when she never had a fill.
It was a saying that he got the best horses, dogs, and girls in the whole county.
I, and when I'm of age, I'll live up to that name, I promise you. I have been thinking of Bet Bouncer there and the miller's gray mare to begin with. But come, my friends, drink about and be merry, for you pay no reckoning. Well, Stingo, what's the matter?
Well, there be two gentlemen in a post-chaise at the door. They've lost their way up to the forest and are talking something about Mr. Hardcastle.
As sure as can be. One of them must be the gentleman that's coming down to court my sister. Do they seem to be Londoners?
Oh, I believe they may. They look woundily like Frenchmen.
Then desire them to step this way, and I'll set them right in a twinkling. My good friends, as they may be good enough company for you, step down for a moment, and I'll be with you in the squeezing of a lemon. Father-in-law has been calling me whelp and hound this half year. Now, if I pleased, I could be so revenged upon the old Grumbletonian.
What a tedious, uncomfortable day we've had of it. We're told it was about 40 miles across the country, and we've come across 30.
And all, Marlow, from that unaccountable reserve of yours that would not let us inquire more frequently on the way.
No offense, gentlemen, but I'm told you have been inquiring in one Mr. Hardcastle in these parts. Do you know what part of the country you are in?
Not in police, sir, but should thank you for information.
Nor the way you came.
No, sir, but if you can inform us.
Oh, why, gentlemen, if you know neither the road you are going, nor where you are from, nor the road you came, the first thing I must tell you is that you are lost. The first thing I have to inform you is you've lost your way, and
We wanted no ghost to tell us that.
pray, gentlemen, it is not the same Hardcastle, a cross-grained, old-fashioned, whimsical fellow with an ugly face, a daughter, and a pretty son.
We have not seen the gentleman, but he has the family you mentioned.
The daughter, a tall, traipsing, trolloping, talkative maypole. The son, a pretty well-bred, agreeable youth, one that everybody is fond of.
Our information differs in this. The daughter is said to be well-bred and beautiful. The son, an awkward booby, reared up and spoiled at his mother's apron string.
Then, gentlemen, all I have to tell you is that you won't reach Mr. Hardcastle this night, I believe. It is a long, dark, boggy, dirty, dangerous way. Oh, Stingo, tell the gentleman the way to Mr. Hardcastle's. Mr. Hardcastle's Quagmire Marsh, you know what I speak of.
Oh, Master Hardcastle, Lumpkin, Daisy, my masters, you've come a deadly deal wrong way. When you came to the bottom of the hill, you should have crossed down Squash Lane.
Crossed down Squash Lane?
Then you were to keep straight forward till you came to 4 roads.
Come to where 4 roads meet.
Aye, but you must make sure to take only one of them.
Oh, sir, you're facetious.
Then, keeping to the right, you are to go sideways till you come upon Crackskull Common. There you must look sharp for the track, go to the wheel, and go forward till you come to the old mill.
Zoons, man, we could have soon as find out the longitude.
What's to be done, Marlow?
Well, this house promises but a poor reception, though perhaps the landlord can accommodate us.
Alack, master, we have but one spare bed in the whole house.
And to my knowledge, that's taken up by 3 lodgers already. Let me see. What if you go on a mile further to the Buck's Head, the old Buck's Mill head on the hill, one of the best inns in the whole country?
Sure you won't be sending them to your father's as an inn, are you?
Mom, you fool. Let them find that out. You have only to keep straight forward till you come to a large old house by the roadside. You'll see a pair of large horns over the door. That's the sign. Drive up right on the yard and call stoutly about you.
Sir, we are obliged here. The servants can't miss the way.
No, but I tell you though, the landlord is rich, so he wants to be thought a gentleman. Why, if you mind him, he'll persuade you that his mother was an alderman and his aunt a justice of the peace.
A troublesome old blade, to be sure, but he keeps us good. Wines and beds in the whole country.
Well, if he supplies us with these, we shall want no further connection. We are to turn to the right, did you say?
Oh, no, straight forward. I'll just step myself and I'll show you a piece of the way.
Oh, bless your heart for a sweet, pleasant, mischievous son of a whore.
Enter Mr. Hardcastle, followed by awkward servants.
Well, I hope you're perfect in the table exercise I've been teaching you these 3 days. You all know your posts and your places, and can show that you've been used to good company without ever stirring from home.
Aye, sir.
Of course, sir.
You're right, sir.
When company comes, you're not to pop out and stare, and then run in again like frightened rabbits in a warren.
No, sir.
Of course, sir.
You're right, sir.
You, Diggory, whom I take it from the barn, are to make a show at the side table, and you, Bridget, are to place yourself behind my chair. You must be all attention to the guests. You must hear us talk and not think of talking. You must see us drink and not think of drinking. You must see us eat, not think of eating.
By the laws, your worship, that's perfectly impossible. Whenever Diggory sees eating going forward, he always is wishing for a mouthful himself.
Blockhead. Is not a bellyful in the parlor as good as a bellyful in the kitchen? Stay your mind with that reflection.
God, I thank you, your worship. I'll make a shift to stay my stomach with a slice of cold beef in the pantry.
Diggory, you're too talkative. Then if I happen to say a good thing or tell a story at table, you must not all burst out laughing as if you were made part of the company, all right?
No, sir.
Of course, sir.
You're right, sir.
Then your worship must not tell the story of old grouse in the gun room. I can't help laughing. For the soul of me,
Well, that story is a good one. Okay, you can laugh at that. But still, remember to be attentive, all right? Don't hear a coach drive into the yard. To your post, you blockheads. Come on, Pope. I'll go in the meantime and give my old friend son a hearty reception at the gate.
By the 11th, my place has gone quite a
Where the devil's lie? You go in there and you go in there.
Where?
There. Where? There. Yes, miss.
Of course, miss.
You're right, miss. My place is to be nowhere at all, so I'll just go about my business.
Welcome, gentlemen. Very welcome. This way.
After the disappointments of the day, welcome once more, Charles, to the comforts of a clean room and a good fire. Upon my word, a very well-looking house. Antique, but critical.
The usual fate of a large mansion, having first ruined the master by good housekeeping, and last comes to levy contributions as an inn.
Well, you have lived very much among them. In truth, I have been often surprised that you, who have seen so much of the world, with your natural good sense and your many opportunities, could never yet acquire a requisite share of assurance.
The Englishman's malady. But tell me, George, where could I have learned that assurance you talk of? My life has been chiefly spent in college or at an inn, in seclusion from the lovely part of the creation that chiefly teaches men confidence. I don't know that I was ever familiarly acquainted with a single modest woman, except my mother, but among females of another class, you know.
Aye, among them you are impudent enough of all conscience.
They are of us, you know.
But in the company of women of reputation, I never saw such an idiot, such a trembler. You look for all the world, as if you wanted an opportunity of stealing out of the room.
Why, man, that's because I do want to steal out of the room. Faith, I've often formed a resolution to break the ice and rattle away at any rate. But I don't know how. A single glance from a pair of fine eyes and has totally overset my revolution.
If you could but say half the fine things to them that I've heard you lavish upon the barmaid of an inn, or even a college bedmaker.
By George, I can't say fine things to them. They freeze, they petrify me. Why, to me, a modest woman, dressed out in all her finery, is the most tremendous object of the whole creation.
At this rate, man, how can you ever expect to marry?
Never. Unless, as among kings and princes, my bride would be courted by proxy. But to go through all the terrors of a formal courtship, no, that's a strain much above me, I assure you.
I pity you. But how do you intend behaving to the lady who will come down to visit at the request of your father?
As I behave to all other ladies. Bow very low, answer yes and no to all her demands. But for the rest, I don't think I shall venture to look in her face until I see my father's again.
I'm surprised that one who was so warm a friend can be so cool.
To be explicit, my dear Hastings, my chief inducement down was to be instrumental in forwarding your happiness, not my own. Miss Neville loves you. The family don't know you. As my friend, you are sure of a reception, and let honor do the rest.
My dear Marlow, but I will suppress the emotion. Were I a wretch merely seeking to carry off a fortune, you should be the last man in the world I would apply to for assistance. But Miss Neville's person is all I ask, and that is mine, both from her deceased father's consent and her own inclination.
Happy man. You have talents and art to captivate any woman. I'm doomed to adore the sex, and yet you converse with the only part of it I despise. Shaw, this fellow's here to interrupt us.
Gentlemen, once more you're heartily welcome. Which is Mr. Marlow? Sir, you are heartily welcome. It's not my way, you see, to receive my friends with my back to the fire. I like to give them a hearty reception, see their horses and trunks taken care of.
It's got our name from the servants already. We approve your caution and hospitality, sir. I've been thinking, George, of changing our traveling clothes in the morning. I'm growing confoundedly ashamed of mine.
I beg, Mr. Marlow, you'll use no ceremony in this house.
I fancy, Charles, you're right. The first blow is half the battle. I intend opening the campaign with the white and gold.
Mr. Marlow, Mr. Hastings, gentlemen, pray be under no constraint in this house. This is Liberty Hall, gentlemen. You may do just as you please here.
Yet, George, if we open the campaign too fiercely at first, we may want ammunition before it is over. I think to reserve the embroidery to secure a retreat.
You're talking of retreat, Mr. Marlow? Puts me in mind of the Duke of Marlborough. When we went to besiege Denane, he first summoned the garrison.
The girls like finery.
The garrison, which might consist of a population of 5,000 men, well appointed with stores, ammunition, other implements of war. Now says the Duke of Marlborough to George Brooks.
What good, my friend, if you gave us a glass of punch in the meantime? It would help us to carry on the siege with vigor.
Punch, sir? This is the most unaccountable kind of modesty I ever met with.
Yes, sir, punch. A glass of warm punch after our journey will be comfortable. This is Liberty Hall, you know.
Of course. We've got one moment. Here's a cup, sir. Hope you'll find it to your mind. I prepared it with my own hands, and I believe you'll own the ingredients are tolerable. Will you be so good as to pledge me, sir? Here, Mr. Marlow, here's to our better acquaintance.
Very impudent fellow, this. But he's a character, and I'll humor him a little. Sir, my service to you.
I see this fellow wants to give us his company. He forgets that he is an innkeeper before he has learned to be a gentleman.
Now, tell me, sir, what has my new acquaintance got in the house for supper?
For supper, sir? Was ever such a request made to a man in his own house?
Yes, sir, supper. I begin to feel an appetite.
Such a brazen dog, never my eyes beheld. Well, I really, sir, as for supper, I can't well tell you. My Dorothy and the cook maid settle these things between them. You know, I leave these kinds of things entirely to them.
You do.
Now, let's see your list of lorna then. I asked it as a favor. I always match my appetite to the bill of fare.
Sir, he's very right, and it's my way too.
Sir, you have a right to command here. Diggory, bring us the bill of fare for tonight's supper. I believe it's drawn out. Here. Your manner, Mr. Hastings, puts me in the mind of my uncle, Colonel Wallach. It was a saying of his that no man was sure of his supper till he had eaten it.
On the high ropes, his uncle a colonel. We shall soon hear of his mother being a justice of the peace. But let's hear the bill of fare.
What's here? For the first course, for the second course, for dessert? The devil, sir, do you think we have brought down a whole joiner's company? Or the corporation of Bedford to eat up such a supper? 2 or 3 little things, clean and comfortable will do.
That impudence confounds me. Gentlemen, you're my guests. Make whatever alterations you please. Is there anything else you wish to retrench or alter, gentlemen?
Item, pork pie, a boiled rabbit and sausages, a Florentine, shaking pudding and a dish of tip-tap-taffety cream.
Confound your maid dishes. I shall be as much at loss in this house as at a green and yellow dinner at the French ambassador's table. I am for plain eating.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, that I have nothing you like, but if there be anything you have a particular fancy to.
Oh, why, really, sir, your bill of fare is so exquisite that any one part of it is as full as good as another. Send us what you please, so much for supper. And now to see that our beds are aired and properly taken care of.
I'll entreat you, leave that to me. You shall not stir a step.
I'll leave that to you. Oh, I protest, sir. You must excuse me. I always look through these things myself. Very troublesome fellow, this, as I ever met with.
Well, sure then, I shall then see to the supper. This may be modern modesty, but I never saw anything look like so much like old-fashioned impudence.
So I find this fellow's civility is beginning to grow troublesome. But we can be angry at those acidic duties which are meant to please them. Oh, what do I see? Miss Neville, by all that's happened.
My dear Hastings, to what unexpected good fortune, to what accident am I to ascribe this happy meeting?
Rather let me ask the same question, as I could never have hoped to meet my dearest Constance at an inn.
An inn? Sure you mistake. My aunt, my guardian, lives here. What could induce you to think this house an inn?
My friend, Mr. Marlow, with whom I came down, and I have been sent here as to an inn, I assure you. A young fellow whom we accidentally met at a house hard by directed us hither.
Oh, certainly. It must be one of my hopeful cousin Strix of whom you have heard me talk so often.
He whom your aunt intends for you, he of whom I have such just apprehensions!
You have nothing to fear from him, I assure you. You'd adore him if you knew how heartily he despises me. My aunt knows it too, and has undertaken to court me for him, and actually begins to think she has made a conquest.
Well, now, dear dissembler, you must know, my Constance, I have just seized this happy opportunity of my friend's visit here to get admittance into the family. The horses that carried us down are now fatigued with their journey, but they'll soon be refreshed. Then, if my dearest girl will trust in her faithful Hastings, we shall soon be landed in France, where even among the slaves, the laws of marriage are respected.
I have often told you that though ready to obey you, I yet should leave my little fortune behind with reluctance. The greatest part of it was left me by my uncle, the India director, and chiefly consists in jewels. I have been for some time persuading my aunt to let me wear them. I fancy I'm very near succeeding. The instant they are put in my possession, you shall find me ready to make them and myself yours.
Perish the baubles! Your person is all I desire. In the meantime, my friend Marlow must not be led into his mistake. I know the strange reserve of his temper is such that if abruptly informed of it, he would instantly quit the house before our plan was ripe for execution.
But how shall we keep him in the deception? Miss Hardcastle has just returned from walking. What if we still continue to deceive him? This way? This way?
Yes, the duties that these good people tease me beyond bearing. My host seems to think it ill manners to leave me alone, and so he claps not only himself, but his old-fashioned wife on my back. What have we here?
My dear Charles, let me congratulate you. The most fortunate accident. Who do you think is just alighted?
Cannot guess.
Our mistress's boy, Miss Hardcastle, and Miss Neville. give me leave to introduce Miss Constance Neville to your acquaintance. Happening to dine in the neighborhood, they called on their return to take fresh horses here. Miss Hardcastle has just stepped into the next room and will be back in an instant. Well, wasn't it lucky, huh?
I have been mortified enough of all conscience, and here comes something to complete my embarrassment.
Well, but wasn't it the most fortunate thing in the world?
Oh, yes, very fortunate, a most joyful encounter. But our dresses, George, you know, we are in disorder. What if we should postpone the happiness till tomorrow? Tomorrow at our own house. It will be every bit as convenient and rather more respectful. Tomorrow, let it be. Come on.
By no means, sir. Your ceremony will displease her. The disorder of your dress will show the ardor of your impatience. Besides, she knows you are in the house and will permit you to see her.
Oh, the devil, how shall I support it? Hastings. You must not go. You are to assist me, you know. I shall be confoundedly ridiculous. Yet, hang it, I'll take courage.
Charlotte, it is but the first plunge and all's over. She's but a woman, you know.
And of all women, she that I dread most to encounter.
Miss Hardcastle, Mr. Marlow. I'm proud of bringing two persons of such merit together.
Now for meeting my modest gentleman with a demure face and quite in his own manner. I'm glad of your safe arrival, sir. I'm told you had some accidents, by the way.
Only a few, madam. Yes, we had some.
Never spoke better in your whole life. Keep it up now.
You that have seen so much of the finest company can find little entertainment, I'm sure, in an obscure corner of the country.
I have lived, indeed, in the world, madam, but I have had very little company. I have been but an observer upon life, madam, while others were enjoying it.
Bravo, bravely spoken. Well, Miss Hardcastle, I see that you and Mr. Marlow are going to be very good company. I believe our being here will but embarrass the end.
Oh, not in the least, Mr. Hastings. We like your company of all things. Soon, Stuart Street will go. How can you leave us?
Our presence will but spoil conversation, so we'll retire to the next room. Don't consider, man, that we are to manage a little
But you have not been wholly an observer, I presume, sir. The ladies, I should hope, have employed some part of your addresses?
Pardon me, madam. I've just studied only to deserve them.
And that's some say the worst way to attain them.
Perhaps so, madam, but I would love to converse only with the more grave and sensible part of the sex. But I'm afraid I grow tiresome.
Not at all, sir. There's nothing I like so much as grave conversation myself. I could hear it forever. Indeed, I have often been surprised how a man of sentiment could ever admire such light, airy pleasures where nothing reaches the heart.
It's a disease of the mind, madam. In the variety of tastes, there must be some who, wanting a relish
I understand you, sir. There must be some who, wanting a relish for refined pleasures, pretend to despise what they are incapable of tasting.
Very true, madam. Those who have most virtue in their mouths have the least of it in their bosoms. And I can't help observing that,
Who could ever suppose this fellow impudent upon some occasions? You were going to observe, sir.
I was observing, madam. I protest, madam, I forgot what I was going to observe.
I vow, and so do I.
But I'm sure I tire you, madam.
Not in the least, sir. There's something so agreeable and spirited in your manner, such life and force. Pray go on.
Yes, madam, I was saying that there are some occasions when a total want of courage, madam, destroys all the, and puts us upon...
I agree with you entirely. I beg your pardon.
Yes, madam. Morally speaking, it is, but I see Miss Neville expecting in the next room. I would not intrude for
I
the world.
protest, sir. I was never more agreeably entertained in all my life. Pray go on.
Yes, madam, I was, but she beckons to join her. Madam, shall I do myself the honor of attending you?
Well, then I'll follow.
This smooth dialogue is done for me.
Was there ever such a sober, sentimental interview? I'm certain he scarce looked in my face the whole time, yet the fellow, but for his unaccountable bashfulness, is pretty well too. He has good sense, but then so buried in his fears that it fatigues one more than ignorance. If I could teach him a little competence, it would be doing somebody that I know a piece of service. Who is that somebody? That, Faith, is a question I can scarce answer.
What do you follow me for, dear cousin?
I hope, cousin, one may speak to one's own relations and not be to blame.
Aye, but I know what sort of relation you want to make me, though I but it won't do. I tell you, Cousin Khan, it won't do. So I beg you to keep your distance. I want no nearer relationship.
Well, I vow, Mr. Hastings, you are very entertaining. There's nothing in the world I love to talk of so much as London and the fashions, though I never was there myself. Pray, Mr. Hastings, what do you take to be the most fashionable age about town?
Some time ago, 40 was all known. But I'm told the ladies intend to bring up 50 for the ensuing winter.
Seriously? Then I shall be too young for fashion.
No lady begins now to put on jewels till she's past 40. For instance, miss, there in a polite circle would be considered as a child, as a mere maker of samples.
And yet Mrs. Niece thinks herself as much a woman and is as fond of jewels as the oldest of us all.
Your niece, is she? And that young gentleman, a brother of yours, I assume.
My son, sir. They are contracted to each other. Observe them. Observe their little sports. They fall in and out 10 times a day as if they were man and wife already. Well, Tony, child, what soft things are you saying to your cousin Constance this evening?
I have been saying no soft things, but that is very hard to be followed about, so ecod, I've not a place in the house now that's left to myself but the stable.
He's a sly one. Company.
You had as good not make me, I'll tell you.
A monster. For shame, Tony. You're a man, behave so.
If I'm a man, let me have my fortune, my inheritance. Ecod will not be made a fool of no longer.
Is this ungrateful boy all that I am to get for the pains I have taken in your education? I would have rocked you in your cradle and fed that pretty mouth with a spoon. Wasn't it all for your good, Piper? Was it all for your good?
No, I wish you'd let me go on my good alone then, snubbing this way when I am in spirits. If I have any good, let it come of itself, not to keep digging it into one so.
That's false. I never see you when you're in spirits. No, Tony, you go to the alehouse or the kennel, whatever the like. But I see he wants to break my heart. I see he does.
Dear madam, permit me to lecture the young gentleman a little. I'm certain I can persuade him to his duty.
Well, I must retire. Come, Constance, my love. You see, Mr. Hastings, the wretchedness of my situation. Was ever a poor woman so plagued by a dear, sweet, pretty, provoking, undutiful boy?
Don't mind her. Let her cry. It's the comfort of her heart. I've seen her and her sister cry over a book together for an hour. And they said they liked the book better the more it made them cry.
Then you're no friend to the ladies, I find, my pretty young gentleman.
That's as a fandom.
Mother's choosing? I dare answer. And yet she appears to me a pretty well-tempered girl.
That's because you don't know her as well as I. Ecod, I know every inch about her. And there's not a bitterer, more cantankerous toad in all Christendom.
Yes, encouragement this for a lover. To me she appears sensible and silent.
Aye, before company. But when she's with her playmate, she's as loud as a hog in the gate.
But there is a meek modesty about her that charms her.
Yes, but curb her never so little, she kicks up and you're flung in a ditch.
Well, but you must allow her a little beauty. Yes, you must allow her some beauty.
No, sir, she's a made-up thing. Ah, could you see but... parts, you might talk of beauty.
Well, what say you to a friend that would take this bitter bargain off of your hands?
Anon?
Would you thank him that would take Miss Neville and leave you to happiness and your dear Bess?
Aye, but where is there such a friend? For who would take her?
I am he. If you but assist me, I'll engage to whip her off to France, and you shall never hear more of her.
Assist you, ecod, I will to the last of my blood. I'll clap in a pair of horses to the chase that shall trundle you off into a twinkling, and you get your part in the fortune besides you in jewels that you have little dreamed of.
My dear squire, this looks to be a lad of spirit.
Come along then, you shall see more of my spirit before you have done with me.
That's the third. Enter Hardcastle alone.
What did my old friend Sir Charles mean by recommending his son as the modestest young man in town? To me, he appears the most impudent piece of brass that ever spoke with a tongue. I'm desirous to know how his impudence affects my daughter. She'll certainly be shocked at it.
Enter Miss Hardcastle, plainly dressed.
Oh, my Kate, I see you change your dress as I bade you, and yet I believe there's no great occasion.
I find such pleasure, sir, in obeying your commands that I take care to observe them without ever debating their propriety.
Yes, Kate, I sometimes give you some cause, particularly when I recommended my modest gentleman to you as a lover today.
Oh, I never saw anything like it. And a man of the world indeed. Why, that timid look, that awkward address, that bashful manner.
Whose look? Whose manner, child?
Mr. Marlow's, his mauvais honte's timidity struck me at first sight.
Then your first sight deceived you, for I think one of the most brazen first sights that ever astonished my senses.
Sure, sir, you rally. I never saw anyone so modest.
And you can be serious. I never saw such a bouncing, swaggering puppy since I was born.
Surprising. He met me with a respectful bow, a stammering voice, and a look fixed upon the ground.
Oh, he met me with a loud voice, a lordly air, and a familiarity that made my blood freeze again.
He treated me with diffidence and respect, censured the manners of the age, admired the prudence of girls that never laughed, and tired me with apologies of being tiresome, then left the room with a bow, and, madam, I would not for the world detain you.
Oh, he spoke to me as if he knew me all his life before. Wait, he asked 20 questions, never waited for an answer, and interrupted my best remarks with some silly pun. When I was in my best story, the Duke of Marlborough and Prince Eugene, he asked if I was not a good hand at making punch. Yes, Kate, he asked your father if he was a good hand at making punch.
One of us must certainly be mistaken.
If he has shown what he has shown himself to be, I'm determined he'll never have my consent.
Oh, and if he be the sullen thing I take him, he shall never have mine.
Well, in one thing we agreed then, to reject him.
Yes, but upon conditions. For if you should find him less impudent and I more presuming, if you find him more respectful and I more importunate, I don't know, the fellow is well enough for a man.
If we should find him so. But that's impossible. The first appearance has done my business. I'm seldom deceived in that.
And yet there may be many good qualities under that first appearance.
Well, if Mr. Brazen can find the art of reconciling contradictions, well, he may please us both, perhaps.
And as one of us must be mistaken, what if we go to make further discoveries?
Agreed. But depend on it, I'm in the right.
And depend on it, I'm not much in the wrong.
Enter Tony, running with a casket.
Ecod, I have got them. Here they are. My cousin Con's necklaces, bobs, and alls. My mother shan't cheat the poor souls out of their fortune either. Oh, my genius, is that you?
My dear friend, how have you managed with your mother? I hope you have amused her with pretending love for your cousin, and that you are willing to be reconciled at last. Our horses will be refreshed in a short time, and we shall soon be ready to set off.
And here are your sweetheart's jewels. Keep them and hang those, I say, that I would rob you of one of them.
But how have you procured them from your mother?
Ask me no questions, and I'll tell you no fibs. If I had not a key to every drawer in my mother's bureau, how could I go to the alehouse so often as I do? And honest, a man may rob himself of his own at any time.
Thousands do it every day. But to be plain, Miss Neville is endeavoring to procure them from her aunt this very instant. I dread the effects of her resentment when she finds she has lost them.
Never you mind her resentment, leave me to manage that. I don't value her resentment the balance of a cracker. Zoons, here they are.
Indeed, Constance, you amaze me. Such a girl as you want jewels? There will be time enough for jewels, my dear, 20 years hence, when your beauty begins to want repairs.
But what will repair beauty at 40 will certainly improve it. At 20, madam.
Yours, my dear, can invent nuptial blush is beyond 1,000 ornaments.
But who knows, madam, but somebody that shall be nameless would like to best me with all my little finery about me.
Consult your glass, my dear, and then see if with such a pair of eyes you want any better sparklers.
My dear, and if you knew how it would oblige me.
They would make you look like the court of King Solomon at a puppet show. Besides, I believe I can't readily commit them. They may be missing, for aught I know to the contrary.
Then why don't you tell her so at once, for she's longing for them. Tell her they're lost. It's the only way to quiet her. Say that they're lost and call me to bear witness.
You know, my dear, I'm only keeping them for you. So if I say they're gone, you bear me witness, will you?
Never fear me. Ecod, I'll say I saw them taken out with my own eyes.
I desire them, but for a day, madam, just to be permitted to show them as relics, and then they may be locked up again.
To be plain with you, my dear Constance, if I could find them, you should have them. They're missing, I assure you, lost for aught I know, but we must have patience wherever they are.
I'll not believe it. This is but a shallow pretense to deny me. I know they are too valuable to be so slightly kept, and as you are to answer for the loss.
Don't be alarmed, Constance. If they be lost, I must restore an equivalent. But my son knows they're missing and not to be found.
That I can bear witness to. They are missing and not to be found. I'll take my oath on it.
You must learn resignation, my dear. For though we lose our fortune, yet we should not lose our patience. See me, how calm I am.
Aye, people are generally calm at the misfortunes of others.
Now I wonder, a girl of your good sense should waste a thought on such trumpery. We shall soon find them, and in the meantime, you shall make use of my garnets till your jewels be found.
I detest garnets.
The most becoming things in the world to set off a clear complexion. You have often seen how well they look on me. You shall have them.
I dislike them, of all things. You shan't stir. Was there anything so provoking to mislay my own jewels and force me to wear her trumpery?
Don't be a fool. If she gives you the garnets, take what you can get. The jewels are your own already. I have stolen them out from her bureau, and she does not know it. Fly to your spark. He'll tell you more of the matter. Leave me to manage her.
My dear cousin.
Vanished! She's here, and has missed them already. Zoons, how she fidgets and spouts about like a Catherine wheel.
Confusion! Thieves! Robbers! We are cheated, plundered, broke open, undone!
What's the matter? What's the matter, Mama?
We are robbed! My bureau has been broken open, the jewels taken out, and I am undone!
Oh, is that all? By the laws, I never saw it acted better in my life. Ecod, I thought you were ruined in earnest.
My boy, I am ruined in earnest. My bureau has been broken open and all taken away.
Stick to that. Stick to that. I'll bear witness to you. You know that. You call me to bear witness.
I tell you, by all that's precious, the jewels are gone, and I shall be ruined forever.
By the laws, Mama, you make me laugh. I know who took them well enough.
Was there ever such a blockhead that can't tell the difference between jest and earnest? I tell you, I am not in jest, Ruby!
That's right. You must be in a bitter passion, and then no one will suspect either of us. I'll bear witness that they're gone.
Was there ever such a cross-grained brute that won't hear me? Can you bear witness that you're no better than a fool? Was ever a poor woman so beset with fools on one hand and thieves on the other?
I can bear witness to that.
Bear witness again, you blockhead, you, and I'll turn you out of the room directly. My poor niece, what will become of her? Do you laugh, you unfeeling brute, as if you enjoyed my distress?
I can bear witness to that.
Do you insult me, monster? I'll teach you to vex your mother, I will.
I can bear witness to that.
What an unaccountable creature is that brother of mine to send them to the house of an inn. I don't wonder at his impudence.
But what is more, madam,
dress, madam, that every lady wears in the country, but when she receives or visits company.
And you're sure he does not remember my face or person?
Certain of it.
I vow I thought so, for we spoke for some time together, yet his fears were such that he never once looked up during the interview. Indeed, if he had my bonnet, he would have kept him from seeing me.
What do you hope to gain from keeping him in his mistake?
In the first place, I shall be seen, and that is no small advantage to a girl who brings her face to market. Then I shall perhaps make an acquaintance, and that's no small victory gained over one who never addresses any but the wildest of her sex. But my chief aim is to take the gentleman off his guard, and, like an invisible champion of romance, examine the giant's force before I offer to combat.
But are you sure you can act your part and disguise your voice so that he may mistake that as he has already mistaken your person?
Never fear me. I think I've got the true ball in hand. Did your honor call? Attend the gentleman there, pipes and tobacco for the angel. The lamb has been outrageous this half hour.
It will do, madam.
But he's here.
What a bawling in every part of the house. I at last got a moment to myself, and now for a recollection.
Did you call, sir? Did your honor call?
As for Miss Hardcastle, she's too grave and sentimental for me.
Did your honor call?
No, child. Such from the glimpse of her, I think she squints.
I'm sure, sir, I heard the bell.
No. I have pleased my father. However, by counting down, and all tomorrow please myself by returning.
Perhaps the other gentleman called, sir?
I tell you, no.
I should be glad to know, sir, we have such a parcel
No.
of
I
servants.
tell you. Yes, child, I did call. I wanted. I vow, child. You are vastly handsome.
Oh, sir, you'll make one ashamed.
I never saw a more sprightly, malicious eye. Yes, my dear, I did call. Have you got any of your, what do you call this in the house?
No, sir, we have been out of at least 10 days.
One may call in the house I find to very little purpose. Suppose I should call for a taste, just by the way of trial, of the nectar of your lips. Well, perhaps I might be disappointed in that too.
Nectar, that's a liquor there's no call for in these parts. French, I suppose. We sell no French wines here, sir.
Of true English growth, I assure you.
Then it's odd I should not know it. We brew all sorts of wines in the house, and I have lived here these 18 years.
18 years?
Mm-hmm.
Why, one would think, child, you kept the bar before you were born. How old are you?
Oh, sir, I must not tell my age. They say women in music should never be dated.
Yes, but at this distance you can't be much above 40. Yet nearer, I don't think so much. Coming closer to some women, they look younger still. But very close indeed.
Oh, pray, sir, keep your distance. One would think you wanted to know one's age as they do horses by mark of the mouth.
I protest, child, you use me extremely ill. If you keep me at this distance, how is it possible that you and I can ever be acquainted?
Who wants to be acquainted with you? I want no such acquaintance, not I. I'm sure you did not treat Miss Hardcastle that was here a while ago in this obstreperous manner. I'll warrant me before her you looked and dashed and kept bowing to the ground and talked for all the world as if you wanted justice and peace.
Begad, she is headed, sure enough. In awe of her child, a mere awkward squinting thing. No. I find you don't know me. I laughed and rallied at her a little, but I was unwilling to be too severe. No, I could not be too severe. Curse me.
Oh, then, sir, you are a favorite, I find, among the ladies.
Yes, my dear, a great favorite. But tell me,
What?
do you ever work, child?
Aye, sure. There's not a screen or curtain in the whole house, but one can bear witness to that.
Thought so, then you must show me your embroidery. I embroider and draw patterns myself a little. If you want to judge your work, you must apply to me.
Aye, but the colors do not look well by candlelight. Now you shall see all in more.
Oh, and why not now, my angel? Such beauty fires beyond the power of resistance. Oh, just my luck.
So, madam, so I find this is your modest lover, this your humble admirer that kept his eyes fixed on the ground, only adored at a humble distance. Kate, art thou not ashamed to deceive your father so?
Never trust me, dear papa, but he's still the modestest man I first took him for. You'll be convinced of it as well as I.
By the hand of my body, I believe his impudence is infectious. Didn't I see him seize your hand? Didn't I see him haul you about like a milkmaid? Now you talk of his respect and his modesty, forsooth.
if I shortly convince you of his modesty, that he has only the faults that will pass off with time, and the virtues that will improve with age, I hope you'll forgive
What, the
me.
girl would actually make one run mad. I tell you, I'll not be convinced. I am convinced. He has scarce been 3 hours in the house. He's already encroached on all my prerogatives. You may like his impudence and call it modesty, but my son-in-law, madam, must have very different qualifications.
Sir, I ask but the night to convince
You shall not have half the time, for I have thoughts of turning him out this very hour.
Give me that hour then, and I hope to satisfy you.
Well, an hour let it be then. But I'll have no trifling with your father. All fair and open, you mind me?
And I hope, sir, you have ever found that I considered your commands as my pride, for your kindness is such that my duty has yet been inclination.
There will now be a 3 to 5 intermission. 3 to 5 minutes. I forgot the word.
Cooking maid!
3 to 4. Enter Hastings and Miss Neville.
You surprise me. Sir Charles Marlow expected here this night. Oh, where have you your information?
You may depend on it. I just saw his letter to Mr. Hardcastle, in which he tells him he intends setting out a few hours after his son.
But my constance almost be completed before he arrives. And he knows me, and should he find me here, would he discover my name and perhaps my designs to the rest of the family?
The jewels, I hope are safe.
Yes, I have sent them to Marlow, who keeps the keys of our baggage. In the meantime, I'll go to prepare matters for our elopement. I have had the squire's promise of a fresh pair of horses, and if I should not see him again, will write him further directions.
Well, success attend you. In the meantime, I'll go and amuse my aunt with the old pretense of a violent passion for my cousin.
Enter Marlow and Diggory.
I wonder what Hastings could mean by sending me so valuable a thing as a casket to keep for him, when he knows the only place I have is the seat of a post coach at an inn door. Have you deposited the casket with the landlady as I ordered you? You put it into her hands?
Yes, Your Honor.
She said she'd keep it safe, didn't she?
Yes, those jewels are already, they're already off stage. They've gotten rid of it. It's all good, it's all good.
She said she'd keep it safe, did she?
Yes, she said she'd keep it safe enough. She asked me how I came by it. She said I had a great mind to make and give an account for myself.
But they're safe, however. What an unaccountable set of beings have we got amongst this little barmaid, though, runs in my head most strangely and drives out the absurdities of all the rest of the family. She's mine, she must be mine, or I'm gravely mistaken.
I quite forgot to tell her that I intended to prepare at the bottom of the garden. Marlow here, and in spirits too.
Give me joy, George. Crown me, shadow me with laurels. Well, George, after all, we modest fellows go on for success among the women.
Some women, you mean. But what success has your honor's modesty been crowned with now, that it grows so insolent upon us?
Oh, didn't you see that tempting, brisk, lovely little thing that runs about the house with a bunch of keys to its girdle?
Well, and what then?
She's mine, you rogue, you. Such fire, such motion, such eyes, such lips. But, again, she would not let me kiss them, though.
But are you so sure, so very sure of her?
Why, man, she talked of showing me her work above stairs. I'm to improve the pattern.
But how can you, Charles, go about to rob a woman of her honor?
Oh, we know the honor of the barmaid of an inn. I don't intend to rob her, take my word for it. There's nothing in this house I shan't honestly pay for.
I believe the girl has virtue.
And if she has, I should be the last man in the world that would attempt to corrupt it.
You have taken care, I hope, of the casket I sent you to lock up. Is it in safety?
Yes, it's safe enough. I've taken care of it. But how could you think the seat of a post coach and an indoor a place of safety? Ah, numbskull, I have taken better precautions for you than you did for yourself. I have sent it to the landlady to keep for you. To the landlady. The landlady? You did? I did. She's to be answering for its forthcoming, you know.
Yes, she'll bring it forth with a witness.
Wasn't that right? I believe you'll allow that I acted prudently upon this occasion.
I must not see my uneasiness.
You seem a bit disconcerted, though, methinks. Surely nothing has happened?
No, nothing. Never was in better spirits all my life. With the landlady. No doubt, very readily undertook the charge.
Oh, rather too readily. For she not only kept the casket, but though her great precaution was going to keep the messenger too.
They're safe, however.
As a guinea in a miser's purse.
Now all hopes of fortunes are at an end. We must set off without it. Well, Charles, I'll leave you to your meditations on the pretty barmaid. May you be as successful for yourself as you have been for me.
Thank you, George. I ask no more.
Oh, I no longer know my own house. It turned all topsy-turvy. I'll bear it no longer. And yet, from my respect for his father, I'll be calm. Mr. Marlow, your servant. I'm your very humble servant.
Sir, your humble servant. What's to be the wonder now?
I believe, sir, you must be sensible, sir, that no man alive ought to be more welcome than your father's son, sir. I hope you think so.
I do for my soul, sir. I don't want much entreaty. I generally make my father's son welcome wherever he goes.
I believe you do, sir. Mr. Marlow, I have submitted to your insolence for more than 4 hours, and I see no likelihood of its coming to an end. I'm now resolved to be master here, sir, and I desire that you and your impudent pack leave my house directly.
Leave your house. Surely you jest, my good friend. What, when I'm doing what I can to please you?
I tell you, sir, you don't please me, so I'll desire you'll leave my house.
Surely you can't be serious. At this time of night, in such a night, you only mean to banter.
I tell you, sir, I am serious, and now that my passions are roused, I say, this house is mine, sir. This house is mine, and I command you to leave it directly.
Can't stir a step, I assure you. This is your house, fellow? It's my house. This is my house.
What?
Mine, well, I choose to stay. What right have you to bid me to leave my house, sir? I never met with such impudence. Curse me, never in my whole life.
Nor I, confound me if I ever did, to come to my house, to call for what he likes, to turn me out of my own chair, to insult my family, then to tell me this house is mine, sir. Oh, by all that's impudent, it makes me laugh. Oh.
Bring me your bill, sir. Bring me your bill, and let's make no words of it.
Is there no end to his impertinence?
Zoons, bring me my bill, I say. Let's hear no more.
Young man, from your father's letter to me, I was taught to expect a well-bred, modest man as a visitor here, but now I find him no better than a coxcomb and a bully. But he'll be down here presently, and she'll hear more of it.
How's this? Surely I'm not mistaken this house. Everything looks like an inn. The servants cry, "Come in." The attendance is awkward. The barmaid, too, to attend us. But she's here and will further inform me. Whither so fast, child? A word with you.
Let it be short then. I'm in a hurry. I believe he begins to find out my mistake, but it's too soon quite to undeceive him.
Pray, child, answer me one question. What are you? What may your business in this house be?
A relation of the family, sir.
What a poor relation.
Yes, sir, a poor relation appointed to keep the keys and to see that the guests want nothing in my power to give them.
That is, you act as a barmaid of this inn.
Inn? Lo, what brought you to that idea in your head? One of the best families in the country keep an inn. Oh, Mr. Hardcastle's house is inn.
Mr. Hardcastle's house? Is this Mr. Hardcastle's house, child?
I'm sure. Whose else would it be?
So then all's out, and I've been damnably imposed on. Oh, confound my stupid head. I shall be laughed at over the whole town to mistake this house of all others as an inn, and my father's old friend for an innkeeper. There again may I be hanged, my dear, but I mistook you for a barmaid.
Oh, dear me. I'm sure there's nothing in my behavior to put me on a level with one of that
Nothing, my dear, nothing. But I was in for a list of blunders and could not help making you a subscriber. My stupidity saw everything the wrong way. I mistook your assiduity for assurance and your simplicity for allurement. But it's over. This house I no more show my face.
I hope, sir, I have done nothing to disoblige you. I'm sure I should be sorry to affront any gentleman who has been so polite and said so many civil things to me. I'm sure I should be sorry if he left me tenderly upon my account. I'm sure I should be sorry if people said anything amiss, since I have no fortune but my character.
By heaven, she weeps. This is the first mark of tenderness I've ever had from a modest woman. It touches me. Excuse me, my lovely girl. You are the only part of the family I leave with reluctance. But to be plain with you, the difference of our birth, fortune, and education makes an honorable connection impossible. And I can never harbor a thought of seducing simplicity that trusted in my honor, of bringing ruin upon one whose only fault was being too lovely.
Generous man. I now begin to admire him. But I'm sure my family is as good as Miss Hardcastle's, and though I'm poor, that's no great misfortune to a contented mind. And until this moment, I never thought that it was so bad to want fortune.
And why now, my pretty simplicity?
Because it puts me at a distance from one that if I had 1,000 pounds, I would give it all to.
Simplicity bewitches me, so that if I stay, I'm undone. I must make one bold effort and leave her. Your partiality in my favor, my dear, touches me most sensibly. And were I to live for myself, I could easily fix my choice. But I owe you too much to the opinion of the world, too much to the authority of a father, so that I can scarcely speak it. It affects me. Farewell.
I never knew half of his merit till now. He shall not go if I had power or art to detain him. I'll preserve the character in which I stooped to conquer, but will undeceive my papa, who perhaps may laugh him out of his resolution.
Enter Tony and Miss Neville.
You may steal for yourselves the next time. I have done my duty. She has got the jewels again, that's a sure thing, but she believes me it was all a mistake of the servants.
Oh, my dear cousin, sure you won't forsake us in this distress. If she in the least suspects that I am going off, I shall certainly be locked up or sent to my Aunt Pedigree's, which is 10 times worse.
To be sure, hands of all kinds are a blasted nuisance. But what can I do? I have got you a pair of horses, and I'm sure they can't stay, but I have courted you nicely before her face. Here she comes. We must court a bit or two more, so for fear she would suspect us.
Well, I was greatly fluttered to be sure, when my son tells me it was all a mistake of the servants. I shan't be easy about getting her fairly married, and then let her keep her own fortune. But what do I see? Together again as I'm alive. I never saw Tony so sprightly before. Have I caught you, my pretty doves? What, exchanging stolen glances and broken murmurs?
As for mother's mumble, mother, we grumble a little now and then. To be sure, but there's no love lost between us.
A mere sprinkling, Tony, upon the flame, only to make it burn bright.
Cousin Tony promises to give us more of his company at home. Indeed, he shan't leave us anymore. It won't leave us, Cousin Tony, will it?
Oh, it's a pretty creature. No, I'd sooner leave my horse in a pond than leave you when you smile upon one.
Agreeable cousin.
Ah, he would charm the bird from a tree. I was never so happy before. My boy takes after his father, poor Mr. Lumpkin, exactly. The jewels, my dear Khan, shall be yours incontinently. You shall have him. Yes, boy, my dear. You shall be married tomorrow, and we'll put off the rest of his education to a bit of a tree.
Where's the squire? I've got a letter for your worship.
Give it to my mama. She reads all my letters first.
I had orders to deliver it into your hands.
Undone, undone. A letter to him from Hastings. I know the hand. If my aunt sees it, we are ruined forever.
A very messy piece of penmanship as I ever saw in my life. One can scarce tell the head from the tail. It's very odd. I can read the outside of my letters where my name is well enough, but when I come to open it, it's all scribbles and dashes.
What's that, my dear? Can I give you any assistance?
Pray, aunt, let me read it. Nobody reads a cramp hand better than I. And do you know who it's from?
Can't tell, except from Dick Ginger, the feeder, perhaps.
Aye, so it is. Dear Squire, hoping that you are in health as I am at this present, the gentleman of the Shake Bag Club has cut the gentleman of Goose Green quite out of feather. The odds on odd battle, long fighting, here. It's all about cockfights and horse racing. It's of no consequence here. Put it up.
But I tell you, missus, of all the consequence in the world, I would not lose it for the rest of the guinea. Here, mother, you make it out. Of no consequence.
How's this? Dear Squire, I'm now waiting for Miss Neville at the bottom of the garden, but I find my horse is yet unable to perform the journey. I expect he'll assist us with a pair of fresh horses, as you promised. Dispatch is necessary, as the hag, your mother, will otherwise suspect us. Yours, Hastings! Grant me patience. I shall run distracted. My rage chokes me!
I hope, madam, you'll suspend your resentment for a few moments and not impute me to any impertinence or sinister design that belongs to another.
Fine spoken, madam. You are most miraculously polite and engaging and quite very pink of courtesy and circumspection. And you great ill-fashioned, were you too joined against me? But I'll defeat all your plots in a moment. As for you, madame, since you have got a pair of fresh horses ready, it would be cruel to disappoint them.
Yeah.
So, if you please, instead of running away with your spark, how about this very moment, running away with me? Your old Aunt Pedigree will keep you secure, I warrant. You too, sir, you may mount your horse and guard upon the way. Dickory! Attend me at the gate. I'll show you that I wish you better than you do yourselves.
So now, I am completely ruined.
Aye, that's a sure thing.
But what better could be expected from being connected with such a stupid fool? And after all the nods and signs I made him.
By the laws, miss, it was your own cleverness that did your business. You were so nice and so busy with your shake bags and goose screens. Oh, that I thought I could never be making believe.
So, sir, I find by my servant that you have shown my letter and betrayed us. What was this well done, young gentleman?
Me, God, it was her doing, not mine.
So, I've been finally used here among you, rendered contemptible, driven into ill manners, despised, insulted, laughed at.
And here's another.
And there, sir, is the gentleman to whom we all owe every obligation.
What can I say to him? A mere boy, an idiot, whose ignorance and age are a protection.
A poor, contemptible booby that would but disgrace correction.
Yet with cunning and malice enough to make himself merry with all our embarrassments.
As for him, he's below resentment. But your conduct, Mr. Hastings, requires an explanation. You knew of my mistakes, and it would not undeceive me.
Tortured as I am with my own disappointments, is this a time for explanations? It is not friendly,
But
Mr. Marlow!
Mr. Marlow, we never kept on your mistakes, and it was too late to undeceive you.
My mistress desires you'll get ready immediately, madame. The horses are putting to. Your hat and things are in the next room. We have to go 30 miles before morning.
Well, I'll come presently.
Is it well done, sir, to assist in rendering me ridiculous? To hang me out for the scorn of all my acquaintance? Depend on it, sir. I shall expect an explanation.
Was it well done, sir, if you're upon this subject, to deliver what I entrusted you to the care of another?
Mr. Hastings, Mr. Marlow, why will you increase my distress by this groundless dispute? I implore, I entreat.
Your cloak, madam. My mistress is impatient.
I come. Pray, be pacified. If I leave you thus, I shall die with apprehension.
Your scarf, gloves, the horses are waiting.
Oh, Mr. Marlow, if you knew what a scene of constraint and ill nature lies before me, I'm sure it would convert your resentment into pity.
So distracted with the variety of passions that I don't know what to do. Forgive me, Madam. George, forgive me. You know my hasty temper and should not exasperate.
The torture of my situation is my only excuse.
Well, my dear Hastings, if you have that esteem for me that I think that I am sure you have, your constancy for 3 years will but increase the happiness of our future connection. If
Miss Neville, your mistress is waiting.
I'm coming! Well, constancy, remember, constancy is the word.
My heart, how can I support this to be so near happiness? Such happiness.
You see now, young gentlemen, the effects of your folly. What might be amusement to you is your disappointment and even distress.
Ecod, I have hit it. It's here. My boots there ho. Meet me 2 hours hence at the bottom of the garden, and if you don't find Toady Lumpkin, a more good-natured fellow than you thought for, I'll give you leave to take my best horse and a bet bouncer into the bargain. Come along. My boots ho.
Acts the 5th. Enter Hastings and a servant.
You saw Hill Lady and Miss Neville drive off, you say?
Yes, sir. They went off in a post coach, and the young squire went on horseback. They're 30 miles off by this time.
Oh, then all my hopes are over.
Yes, sir. Old Sir Charles has arrived. He and the old gentleman of the house have been laughing at Mr. Moth's mistake this half hour. They're coming this way.
I must not be seen. So now to my fruitless appointment at the bottom of the garden. This is about the time.
Oh, the peremptory tone in which he sent forth his sublime commands.
And the reserve with which I suppose he treated all your adventures.
Oh, yet he might have seen something in me above a common innkeeper,
Yes,
too.
Dick, but he mistook you for an uncommon innkeeper.
Well, I'm in too good spirits to think of anything but joy. Yes, my dear friend, this union of our families will make our personal friendships hereditary.
If they like each other as you say they do.
Well, if, man, I tell you they do like each other. My daughter as good as told me so.
But girls are apt to flatter themselves, you know.
I saw him grasp her hand in the warmest manner myself. And here he comes to put you out of your ifs, I warrant him.
I come, sir, once more to ask pardon for my strange conduct. I can scarce reflect on my insolence without confusion.
Tut boy, a trifle, you take it too gravely. An hour or two's laughing with my daughter will set it all to rights again. She'll never like you the worse for it.
Sir, I shall always be proud for her approbation.
Approbation is but a cold word, Mr. Marlow. If I'm not deceived, you have something more than approbations thereabout. You take me?
Really, sir, I am not that happy.
Come, boy, I'm an old fellow. I know what as well as you that are younger. And I know what's passed between you, but Mum?
Sure, sir, nothing has passed between us, but the most profound respect on my side, and the most distant reserve on hers. You don't think, sir, that my impudence has been passed upon all the rest of the family?
Impudence? No, I don't say that. Not quite impudence, though girls like to be played with, and rumbled a little too sometimes. I wish she's told no tales, I assure you.
I never gave her the slightest cause.
Well, I'd like modesty in its place well enough, but this is overacting, gentlemen. You may be open. Your father and I will like you the better for it.
Dear sir, I protest.
Your father approves the match, and I admire it. Every moment's delay will be doing us mischief, so...
Why won't you hear me? By all that's just and true, I never gave Miss Hardcastle the slightest mark of my affection, or even the most distant hint of suspecting me for affection. We had but one interview, and that was formal, modest, and uninterested.
This fellow's formal, modest impudence is beyond bearing.
And you never grasped her hand or made any protestation?
As heaven as my witness, I came down in obedience to your commands. I saw the lady without emotion, and parted without reluctance. I hope you'll exact no further proofs of my duty, nor preventing me from leaving a house in which I suffer so many mortifications.
Oh, I'm astonished at the air of sincerity with which he parted.
And I'm astonished at the deliberate intrepidity of his assurance.
I dare pledge my life of an honor upon his truth.
Well, here comes my daughter. I would stake my hat in his von der veracity. Kate, come hither, child. Answer us sincerely and without reserve. Has Mr. Marlow made you any professions of love and affection?
The question is very abrupt, sir, but since you require unreserved sincerity, I think he has.
Oh, you see?
And pray, madam, have you and my son had more than one interview?
Yes, sir, several.
You see? But did he profess any attachment?
A lasting one.
Of love.
Much, sir.
Amazing. All this formally.
Formally.
Now, my friend, I hope you're satisfied.
And how did he behave, madam?
As most admirers do, said some civil things of my face, talked much of his want of merit, and the greatness of mine, mentioned his heart, gave a short tragedy speech, and ended with a pretended rapture.
Now, I'm perfectly convinced indeed. I know his conversation among women to be modest and submissive. This forward, canting, ranting manner, by no means describing.
Then what, sir, if I should convince you to your face of my sincerity? If you and my papa in about half an hour will place yourselves behind that screen, you shall hear him declare his passion to me in person.
Agreed. And if I find him what you describe, all my happiness in him must have an end.
And if you don't find him what I describe, I fear my happiness must never have a beginning.
Scene changes back to the garden.
What an idiot am I, to wait fear for a fellow who probably takes a delight in mortifying me. He never intended to be punctual, and I will wait no longer. Who do I see? It is he, and perhaps it loses my constance.
My honest squire, I now find you a man of your word. This looks
My
like friendship.
honest squire, I now find you a man of your word. This looks like friendship.
It does. I'm your friend, and the best friend you'll have in the world, if you knew it all.
Where did you leave your fellow travelers? Are they in safety? Are they housed? Where have you left the ladies? I die of impatience.
Left them? Why, where would I leave them but where you found them?
This is a riddle.
Riddle me this then. What that goes around the house and round the house and never touches the house?
I am still astray.
Why, that's it, man. I have led them astray. By jingo, there's not a pond or a slough within 5 miles of this place that they can't tell the taste of.
I understand. You took them in around and around and around, and while they suppose themselves going forward, and so you have at last brought them home again.
Aye, quite so. I first took them down Featherbed Lane, then over the stones of up and down hill. I fairly lodged them in the horse pound at the bottom of the garden.
But no accident, I hope.
No. Only mother is confoundedly frightened. She thinks herself 40 miles off. She's so sick of this journey, and cattle can scarce crawl. So if your horses be ready, you may whip off with my cousin, and I'll be round, and no soul can budge a foot to follow you.
My dear friend! You have my sincerest gratitude. But I must hasten to relieve Miss Neville. If you keep the old lady employed, I promise to take care of the young one.
Never fear me. Here she comes. Vanish! She's got for the pond, and I'll drag it up to the waist like a mermaid.
Oh, Tony, I'm killed. I'm killed, shook, battered to death. I shall never survive it.
Alack, Mama, it was your own fault. You rode away by night without knowing one and shoot away.
Oh, I wish I were at home again. I've never met so many accidents in so short a journey. Whereabouts do you think we are, Tony?
By my guess, we're about Crackskull Commons, about 40 miles away from home.
Oh, Lud. The most notorious spot in all the country. We only want a robbery to make a complete night on it.
Don't be afraid, Mama. Don't be afraid.
The fright will certainly kill me.
Do you see anything like a black hat moving behind that thicket? No, it's only a cow. Don't be afraid, Mama. Don't be afraid.
As I'm alive, Tony, I see a man coming towards us. Oh, I'm sure on it. If he perceives us, we are undone!
Father-in-law, by all that's unlucky, come to take one of his night walks. Ah, it's a highwayman with pistols as long as my arm! Ow! You hide yourself in that thicket and leave me to manage him.
I'm mistaken, I heard voices. People and wanted help. Tony, is that you? I did not expect you back so soon. Your mother under charge and safety.
Very safe, sir. My aunt Hilary's.
40 miles in 3 hours, that's too much, youngster.
Stout horses and willing minds make short journeys, as they say.
Merciful heavens! Sure I'll do the boy no harm!
I heard a voice. I should be glad no whence it came.
It was I, sir, talking to myself again. Yes, I was saying that in 40 miles and 4 hours is very good going. I have got a sort of cold being out in this cold air. We'll go in, if you please. Yes.
If you talk to yourself, you do not answer yourself. I'm certain I heard 2 voices. I'm resolved to find the other out.
Oh, he's coming to find me out!
You need to go, sir. If I tell you, I'll lay down my life for the truth. I'll tell you all.
I'll tell you, I'll not be detained. I insist on seeing.
Hold on! Help on, my poor boy, my darling! Here, good gentlemen, wipe your rage upon me! Take my money, my life, but spare the young gentleman, spare my child if you have any mercy!
sense of it. Dorothy, do you not know me?
Mr. Hardcastle? My dear, reminded me! Dear, I could have expected to meet you here in this frightful place.
Dorothy, have you lost your wits? So for a moment you're within 40 yards of your own door? This is one of your tricks, you graceless rogue, you. Don't you know the gate in the mulberry tree? Don't you remember the horse pond, my dear?
Yes, I shall remember the horse pond as long as I live. I've caught my definite. And it is you, you graceless varlet. I owe all of this? I'll teach you to abuse your mother, I will!
Godmother, all the parish says you've spoiled me, and so you may take the fruits in it.
I'll spoil you, I will!
There is morality, however, in his reply.
My dear Constance, why will you deliberate thus? If we delay a moment, all is lost forever. Pluck up a little resolution, and we shall soon be out of the reach of her malignity.
I find it impossible. My spirits are so sunk with the agitations I have suffered that I am unable to face any new danger. 2 or 3 years' patience will at last crown us with happiness.
Such a tedious play is worse than inconsistency. Let us fly, my charmer. Let us state our happiness from this very moment. Perish fortune, love, and content will increase what we possess beyond a monarch's revenue. Let me prevail.
No, Mr. Hastings, no. Prudence once more comes to my relief, and I will obey its dictates. In the moment of passion, fortune may be despised, but it ever produces a lasting repentance. I'm resolved to apply to Mr. Hardcastle's compassion and justice for redress.
But though he had the will, he has not the power to relieve you.
But he has influence, and upon that I am resolved to rely.
I have no hopes. But since you persist, I must reluctantly obey you.
We now return to the house.
What a situation am I in? If what you say appears, I shall then find a guilty son. If what he says to be true, I shall then lose one of all others I most wish for a daughter.
I'm proud of your approbation, and to show I merit it. If you place yourselves as I direct, you shall hear his explicit declaration.
I'll to be your father and keep him to the appointment.
Though prepared for setting out, I come once more to take leave. Nor did I, to this moment, know the pain I feel in the separation.
I believe sufferings cannot be very great, sir, which you can so easily remove. A day or two longer, perhaps, might lessen your uneasiness, but by showing a little value what you think proper to regret.
This girl improves every moment upon me. It must not be, madam. I have already trifled too long with my heart. My very pride begins to submit to my passion. The disparity of education and fortune, the anger of a parent, and the contempt of my equals begin to lose their weight. And nothing can restore me to myself but this painful effort of resolution.
Then go, sir. I'll urge nothing more to detain you. Though my family be as good as hers, you came down to visit, and my education, I hope, not inferior. What are the advantages without equal affluence? I must have only the mockery of your addresses, while all your serious aims are fixed on fortune.
Enter Hardcastle and Sir Charles.
Behind the screen.
All engaged my plate covers him with confusion at last.
By heavens, madam, fortune was ever my smallest consideration. Your beauty at first caught my eye, for who could see that without emotion? But every moment that I converse with you steals in some new grace, heightens the picture, and gives it stronger expression. What at first seemed rustic plainness now appears refined simplicity. What seemed forward assurance now strikes me as the result of courageous innocence and conscious virtue.
I told you how it would be.
I am now determined to stay, madam, and I have too good an opinion of my father's discernment when he sees you to doubt his approbation.
No, Mr. Marlow, I cannot detain you. Do you think I can suffer a connection in which there is the smallest room for repentance? Do you think I could ever relish that happiness which would be acquired by lessening yours?
Why, all that's good. I can have no happiness but what's in your power to grant me. I will stay even contrary to your wishes, and though you should persist to shun me, I will make my respectful assiduities atone for the levity of my past conduct.
Sir, I must entreat you'll desist, as our acquaintance began, so let it end in indifference. I might have given an hour or two to levity, but seriously, Mr. Marlow, do you think I could ever catch at the confident addresses of a secure admirer?
Does this look like security? Look, does this look like confidence? No, madam, even every moment that shows me your merit only serves to increase my diffidence and confusion. Here, let me continue.
I can hold it no longer. Charles! Charles! Thou hast now deceived me. Is this your indifference? Your uninteresting conference?
Your false contempt, your formal interview, what have you to say now?
Then I'm all amazement. What can it mean?
It means that you can say and unsay things at pleasure. That you can address a lady in private and deny in public, that you can have one story for us and another for my daughter.
Daughter, your ladies, the ladies are...
Yes, sir, my only daughter, my Kate. Whose else should she be?
Oh, the devil.
Yes, sir, that very identical, tall, squinting lady as you were pleased to take me for. She that addressed you as the mild, modest, sentimental man of gravity and the bold, forward, agreeable ladies' man.
Since there's no bearing it, it's worse than death.
And which of your characters, sir, will you give us leave to address you? As the faltering gentleman which looks on the ground that speaks just to be heard and hates hypocrisy? Or the loud, confident creature that carouses about till 3 in the morning?
Oh, curse on my noisy head. I never attempted to be impudent, yet that I was not taken down. I must be gone.
Oh, by the hand of my body, you shall not. I see it was all a mistake. I am rejoiced to find out. I know she'll forgive you. Won't you forgive him, Kate? And we'll all forgive you. Take courage, man.
So, they're gone off, let them go. I care not.
Who gone?
My dutiful niece and her gentleman, Mr. Hastings from town. He who came down with her mother's visitor here.
Who, my honest George Hastings, as worthy a fellow as lives, and the girl could not have made a more prudent choice.
By the hand of my body, I'm proud of the connection.
Well, if he has taken away the lady, he has not taken her fortune. That remains in this family to console us for her loss.
Sure, Dorothy, you would not be so mercenary.
That's my affair, not yours.
But you know, if your son, when of age, refuses to marry his cousin, her whole fortune is then at her own disposal.
Aye, but he's not of age. And she has not thought proper to wait for his refusal.
Enter Hastings and Miss Neville.
What? Return so soon? I begin not to like it.
For my late attempt to fly off with your niece, let my present confusion be my punishment. We are now come back to appeal from your justice to your humanity.
In an hour of levity, I was ready to give up my fortune to secure my choice. But I am now recovered from the delusion, and hope from your tenderness what is denied me from a nearer connection.
Pshaw, pshaw, this is all but the winding end of a modern novel.
Be it what it will, I'm glad they'll come back to proclaim their due. Come hither, Tony, boy. Do you refuse this lady's hand, whom I now offer to you?
What signifies my refusing? You know I can't refuse her till I'm of age, Father.
While I thought concealing your age, boy, was likely to conduce to your improvement, I concurred with your mother's desire to keep it secret. But since I find she uses it to a wrong turn, I must now declare you have been of age these 3 months.
Of age! I am of age, Father.
Above 3 months.
Then you'll see the first use I'll make of my liberty. Witnesses all men by these presents that I, Anthony Lumpkin, Esquire, refuse you. Lady Neville, spinster, for my true and lawful wife, so Constance Neville may marry whom she pleases, and Tony Lumpkin is his own man again.
Oh, brave squire.
My undutiful offspring! Joy, my dear George, I give you joy sincerely. And could I prevail upon my little tyrant here to be less arbitrary, I should be the happiest man alive if you would return me the favor.
Come, madam, you are now driven to the very last scene of all your contrivances. I know you like him, I'm sure he loves you, and you must and shall have him.
Oh, I say so too. And Mr. Marlow, if she be, As good a wife as she has been a daughter, I don't believe you'll ever repent your bargain. So now to supper. Tomorrow we shall gather all the poor of the parish about us, and the mistakes of the night will be crowned with a merry morning. So boy, take her, as you have been mistaken in the mistress. My wish is you may never be mistaken in the wife.
The end.
Oh.